Welcome to Paladin Financial Talk. I'm your host, Jeff Quick, and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Anthony Shore.
Oh, my mom or dad talking to me?
I had to mix it up,
Yeah.
Tony. Mix it up a little
Boy,
bit.
I'm glad you didn't throw a Thomas in the middle there. If you'd said Anthony Thomas Shore, I probably would have, I don't know. I would have had to run out of the room. I would have been frightened for sure. When I hear my full three names said out loud, it means I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? Did you get that from your parents too?
Curl up in the fetal position in the corner as soon
Yeah.
as you hear the phone. Yeah. No.
Did you get the whole Jeffrey whatever quick?
Tony, I never got in trouble.
Oh.
So I never experienced that.
My side from the laughter, Jeff. My side from the. We all know that's probably not true. Actually, I believe it.
I got the wait till your father gets home.
Oh, sure.
That's what I.
No, my mom was my poor dad. He's a sensitive guy, and she'd make him, your son was bad. Take him behind the woodshed. Not literally, but you know what I mean. Like, give him a spanking or a talking to. And my poor dad wouldn't. It would it'll hurt me more than it hurts you. He really
was him.
Yeah. My mom was the disciplinary, and boy, her voice carries too. Yeah, that's where I get the voice from, my mom's side.
Well,
yeah,
thankful for that.
Yeah, I guess so. So I'm doing good. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, no complaints. Obviously, the market's been a little up and down. Should we say? A little volatile. Yeah,
it has.
You probably didn't notice.
You know what I actually did? I think everyone has. This has been a rough week, and you asked me how I'm doing. Well, I'm doing better than the market has been for the last week, right?
Yeah.
Right? I can always say that. At least this week I can say I'm better than the markets.
Did you have your best day in history yesterday like the market did?
I did not have my best day in history like the market did, but yeah, one of the biggest upward corrections or upward swings single day. In fact, half a day, really. It started down and it ended up 10 points up or 9 points up, right?
Yeah. I think that's the lesson that everybody should take from it. It's why you get invested properly from the beginning and you don't make a lot of moves. You don't try and time the market. If somebody would have missed out on yesterday, a 10% gain, right, that can mess up an entire year or even longer of your overall return.
Yeah, that's not good. And they say in the last 20 years since 2005, if you missed out on the 10 best days in that whole 20-year period, your returns would be cut in half.
Yep. 100%.
I mean, that's crazy. So you don't want to miss out on those up days. And it's funny you say that because yesterday the market took a quick upswing that was unexpected, right? No one knew what Trump was going to do, and he did it. And the market took an upswing. And I know as a fact that there are a couple people out there who took all their money and put it into cash the day before that happened.
Sure. Yeah.
The day before. So they missed out on one of the top 10 days of the market upswing.
The only ones you'll hear about are the ones that claim they put their money back in yesterday.
Right. No, a lot of people took their money out on Tuesday and did not put it back in. Of course, they could put it back in if today's down. They could put it in today, but they'll still miss out on that upswing, that gain. So it makes a difference.
It's a losing game trying to time the market.
It is. So what are we talking about today?
So as always, we usually have a theme for the month.
Yeah.
Right. The theme for this month is financial books or resources that we find interesting or have inspired us in the past. We're going to be talking about probably one of the most famous financial books, The Millionaire Next Door.
Yep. That's one. I've read it. It's been a while. That one's been around a while.
Yeah. 1996.
96.
Yes.
Okay.
Written by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. Hopefully I pronounced his name correctly.
Yeah, it's Danko. Yeah. Wow. So, and what is that book about?
Well, it's really, Tony, talking about Millionaire Next Door, the people that you don't know or don't expect to be
like the high school janitor who retires at 56 because he's a millionaire.
Yeah. Saved well. Didn't spend more than they earned. Always waited. So just those basic core financial decisions that people make each and every day, the ones your parents told you about that most of us probably didn't listen or follow, are the ones that
Right.
really, put you in a good financial position down the road.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's great. It is a good book. I should go back and reread that one because it's been a while.
Yeah.
And that's a great book. I just remember the analogy, or, their real stories about how, waitresses, janitors have been millionaires because of the way they've invested, and they started young.
Yeah. I remember the two things I remember most were some of the wealthiest people in the country are teachers. Not because, if you're like
Teachers
me,
don't pay well.
they're dramatically underpaid, if you
They
ask
are.
me, number one.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, teachers typically are good savers. They do have nice retirement plans typically through their work, a lot of 403Bs. They also apparently tend to marry high earners for
That's
whatever
interesting.
reason. Yeah, that's what I remember from the book. And then a lot of the least financially successful people are some of the people that earn the most money. Your doctors, your lawyers, your people that have to go out and they're buying their golf memberships, right? Country club.
Because if they
private
make more, they
schools.
spend more. That's just the way it works. We
Yes.
spend whatever we make, most Americans, right?
Yeah, oftentimes that's the case.
Yeah, I think it's human nature for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the ones that are disciplined, that's where it's going to really make a difference.
Yeah.
And you talk about teachers. It's kind of it's a weird stat that it's because they often marry into wealthy families, and of course we know we have a new person on the radio team at Gradient, and we know she's going to marry for money. I mean, that's kind of a given. I think that's going to happen. I'm not going to name names, Jacqueline, but we have a new team member. Do you know about that, Jeff?
I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just going back to the teachers, one of the reasons I think they do end up marrying high earners is because teachers are often very educated, very intelligent people.
Yes.
They just chose a profession that maybe isn't highly compensated, but they attract other intelligent, hardworking,
Sure,
intelligent people. So
yeah. Big wage earners,
my 2
typically.
cents.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I mean, we could get off and go down that rabbit hole, but that is interesting. So, what are some of the things that about this book that you found interesting? Because I know it's one of your favorites.
Yeah.
And that's why we're talking about it today. What's something interesting from the book that our listeners might want to know about?
Yeah. Well, one interesting thing is here's a question for you, Tony, a little Q&A here.
Okay.
What make of automobile do most millionaires drive?
My initial gut reaction would be to say a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW.
Yeah. That's what most people would think, right? The flashy cars, the big houses, the fancy clothes. It's actually a Toyota.
Toyota,
right?
Well, that Toyota is the smartest car to drive because of the value, because it's one of the only cars to retain its value, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
longevity. They run forever.
they run forever. Sure.
Yeah.
That's
Toyota.
wild. Yeah.
Yeah, there's two types of people they talk about in the book. One is a PAW, the other is a UAW, right? And PAW stands for prodigious accumulator of wealth, right? People that are saving above what you would expect based on their incomes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think a UAW would be then, Tony?
A UAW?
Yes.
I don't know. A UAW. Unlimited awesome wings. I'm just thinking of food.
Wow. That you might be able to sell that to somebody. That
under accumulators of wealth.
Yeah. So people that are spending above their means, right? Spending more than they should be. So that's a really important lesson.
It would have been nice if you would have given me the answers, but I'm just having to make this up as I go.
Makes it more fun.
It does. You're really putting me to the test.
Yeah. And so the basic thing is real wealth isn't necessarily loud or showy, right? Most people, when they think of millionaires, they think of, the fancy vacations and the clothes and the cars and the big house, and all that. It's not true.
Right.
Of course, there are people like that, right? But the majority of millionaires do not look like that. I know that firsthand from my job.
Well, and in even the people who make a lot of money spend a lot of money. So they might look rich and they might look good and their lifestyle might be like that, But the problem is their balance sheet probably tells a different story.
That's correct.
Usually you see these Facebook pictures of like, wow, they're in Europe again. Wow, they went to Hawaii this weekend, and next weekend they're in Italy, and they're $50,000 in credit card debt.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you can't always go by, you don't always want to compare yourselves to the Joneses, because do you want to pay 24% interest a month on on a $50,000 credit card bill?
Right. Yeah. They refer to that as lifestyle creep, right? Every time you get a pay raise or any type of increase, you go and you spend it right away. You upgrade the car, you buy a new car, you get a bigger house, you do things you weren't able to do before, and you never get ahead because you're always spending what you're making. Looks great, right? It's fun at the time, but it becomes very difficult to move on and eventually retire, which is, I think, what we all hope to do, except for you, because you love your job so much, and me.
Yeah, well, number one, I'm not aging, Jeff. I think we've established that. I'm not aging. And as long as the voice holds out, I've said I'm going to keep going. Probably until, if my voice is still intact and sounds good at 70, I'll still be co-hosting podcasts and radio shows and doing voiceover work, right?
I'm sure everybody's looking forward to that.
Yeah. He said with only a hint of sarcasm. But, I do think you make a great point there about wealth. And it took me so long to figure that out. I wish I had known and done sooner. But what I do now, as you mentioned, when you get a raise. Well, when I get a raise, 100% of the raise goes into my retirement account.
Oh, good for you.
I just increased my contribution by that much.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking home any less.
Right.
I'm just not taking home any more. I'm just I'm able to make it on what I earn.
Yeah.
So why would I don't need that extra whatever it is. I have that amount. I just tell them to increase my contribution to my 401k by that amount.
I used to do the same thing when I had my first job with a 401k available. I think I probably started with 5%. And I had an hourly pay rate. So every time I got an hourly raise, I didn't give it all to retirement savings, but I would increase it by 1%.
Sure, that's smart. I wish I had done that sooner. I started doing that, but I wish I had done it sooner. Now I do 100%. I mean, when you reach a certain point, you got to get that number up there.
Yeah, your lifestyle is your lifestyle, right? It's not going to change.
It's not going to change at this point.
Yeah,
no.
I think that's key as well.
Yeah,
is people that do end up saving, they're frugal, they use their values to determine their spending habits, right? So they base their saving and their spending on their values.
Sure.
So tends to work out well.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, what's something else from the script?
Yeah, one of the quotes from the book, it says, if your goal is to become financially independent, you should operate your household like a productive business, right? Budgeting, planning, avoiding debt, making wise financial decisions. One of the things that we offer, and you should always do, is track your net worth. We have ability to do this online with my clients through some financial planning software. So it's always live and updated. You can go in and check on it and make sure you're heading in the right direction. And then, one of the big things I think is just making smart decisions with purchases. A lot of my clients are retired now. So sometimes they want to make a big purchase. They retire. Maybe they want to buy that new car right now that they think they can afford it and they can write out a check for it based on their savings, a camper, anything like that. And these are decisions that, sometimes they're like, hey, Jeff, I need, let's say, $60,000 to buy this, to make this major purchase. It's like, okay, now just because you can afford to pay cash and not take out a loan for it doesn't mean that's the right decision. A large purchase like that could potentially push you into the next tax bracket. And if you go from, 12 to 20, or, you're increasing your tax rate, you might be paying more for that vehicle by paying cash. Right.
Then
because
if you
the
use
taxes,
credit, why not use the bank's money, especially if you can get a low. So there's good debt and bad debt.
100%.
And the good debt is use the bank's money when you can get a lower interest rate, right? So if you can get a deal on a car like 1.9% financing, you should never pull that money out of an account that's attached to the
Correct.
market or earning money.
Yeah, correct.
Because you can earn more than 1.9% in the stock market.
Yes.
So
yeah, you can get bonds these days, CDs that pay more than,
yeah,
2-3%. So financially, that's the decision, right?
Yeah.
But I do work with my clients. It also has a lot to do with you're retired. You want to feel good about things as well. Sometimes it just it's not always about the financial decision.
it's seeing that money go out the door every day
Yes.
and having debt. And a lot of people work so hard to be debt free.
Yes.
And I'm all about that,
Yeah.
and there are some great radio shows that really focus on helping people get out of debt.
Yep.
And I've always admired that. But you do have to do the math. You do have to look at your own personal situation. And it's not always the right financial situation, especially with mortgages and auto loans.
Yes.
If you have, like we have, a 2.9%
yeah.
financing on our home, we would be crazy to pull the money out of our retirement accounts at this point and pay off that mortgage.
Yeah.
Well, you have to go into retirement debt free, then you won't have those payments. Yeah, but it's only it's so little, and I'll
Right.
be earning more interest. I'll be earning enough interest to make those payments.
Correct.
hopefully.
That's a smart financial decision. However, a lot of clients, it's been their goal their entire lives to have their house paid off.
Yes.
So sometimes it's more emotional than financial, some of the decisions, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
That can be okay too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't derail their overall retirement picture.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know how you're going to know that? Is it going to derail my retirement picture? Jeff Quick, 2 words, Jeff Quick, right?
Correct. 100%.
Work with a trusted financial professional like Jeff and the Paladin team. You guys, you'll sit down, run reports, see where they want to go, see where they're at, and
Yes.
make that decision.
Yeah. And like I said, there's oftentimes 2 answers. Here's the correct financial answer. And now, based on me having a relationship with that client and talking through things, we may go a different direction because it just suits their lifestyle.
And that's
better.
fine too.
That's fine too.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
good.
As long as we're not blowing up the entire plan. Part of it, you want to enjoy your retirement as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Well, let's just run through a couple of quick tips, based on the book. We've talked about some of these, but we'll just go over them real quickly. First rule, Tony, in my opinion, live below your means.
Oh, live below your means.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's where I've been.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mean I can't spend more than I make? Is that what you're saying?
You could, right? And some people do.
Oh, trust me, you can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Seen it before.
Yeah. I think most of us have been there and done that at one point in our lives.
I think we've all made financial mistakes.
Right.
Yeah.
And hopefully by this point you're out of that, but you've got to do that. You have to live below your means. You have to be able to put money away.
Yes. Number 2, I said budget with a purpose, right? Every dollar should have a job or be assigned to something. Yeah. So have a purpose.
Records, that money needs a purpose.
It does.
For me, it's pizza and records, whatever. Everyone's different, Jeff.
Yep.
You know that.
Yep. Avoid debt. And we talked about this. Avoid bad debt. There's different types of debt.
Yeah.
Avoid bad debt.
Credit card
debt is
avoid it
about
at
as
all
bad
costs.
as it gets. Yes.
24 to 30% interest rate on credit card debt right now.
Unbelievable.
I mean, you're never going to get ahead at that point.
No, take a long time.
Yeah.
Long time. Invest, right? Consistently and often, as much as you can. Consistency is the big thing. Even if you look at this week, right? You bought stock on Monday, Tuesday it went through the roof. That's great. Wednesday it goes down. You buy more because now you're dollar cost averaging into the market and you're just getting more shares for the same amount of money. So invest often and as consistently as possible.
Yeah, the conventional wisdom is the same as voting in Chicago, early and often.
Yes.
So in your life, you've got to invest early and invest often.
100%.
They used to say that about voting in Chicago. Vote early and often.
Yes. Well, the other thing I remember from the book after looking at number 5 is own appreciating assets, not just stuff. They talk about that in the Millionaire Next Door as well. And that also comes back to leasing versus purchasing. Some things are better off being leased if they're depreciating, in some instances. So take a look at all the options when looking to make a major purchase as well.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
Drive your car longer. Right?
Yep.
Drive that thing into the ground. I mean, personally, I like cars. I wish I could be somebody that drove around a 20-year-old car with 250,000 miles on it and just got me from point A to B, which is really the only purpose the car has. So, but just be smart about your vehicles and your
But
choice
some
of
people, that's where
transportation.
they choose to spend their money. And nowadays,
Yes.
I mean, cars have come such a long way, and they really do add a lot of features. I mean, I'm personally in a 2012 vehicle, and it's got 135,000 miles on it, and I'm going to keep going. It's been paid off forever.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take on a car payment right now if
Yeah.
I can be banking that money. But eventually, I'm starting to get the itch. Some people can go longer and not have to satisfy that itch, but it depends on your personal situation.
Could be, and that could be part of your entertainment dollar too, right?
Yeah.
You might enjoy that, and maybe you choose to spend some of your other money on a vehicle versus where other people may choose to spend theirs eating out at a restaurant, whatever it may be. So just keep it.
Yeah, I know somebody with like a brand new Audi SUV. It's white. It's beautiful, and they don't. They like new vehicles, I guess. I'm not going to name names, Jacqueline. I knew I could make you. I'm getting in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble now.
Other thing, teach your kids about money. Give your kids money skills early.
Yes, this is a big one.
Big one. Teach them to work for things. If my kids want something, I talk to them about how it costs, what they can do to pay for that, or pay a portion of it, depending on what it is. When I was growing up, I probably, like all kids even today, the coolest thing you could have was whatever the hottest pair of tennis shoes were, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There were only like three kinds of tennis shoes when I was young. It's been a while, but my parents would only pay X number of dollars. And if I wanted those name brand shoes, they made me pay anything over whatever dollar amount that they set. So that's, one thing I learned about.
That's a great way to do it. I like that. That really teaches you a valuable lesson.
Yeah. Is it worth it? Do you want,
you've got some skin in the game that way. And that's what 100%. I tell Mike. If my wife and I have had these discussions. If the kids don't have any skin in the game, they're not going to appreciate it.
Well, here's another good one with shoes as well, right? My kids don't pay for their shoes. They'll walk around. They won't untie them. They'll walk on the heels of the shoes. Right. Once I started paying for my own shoes or adding money to it, I was, get the mink oil out, preserve that leather, untie them, retie them every time. I get some dirt on it.
Don't just smash down the heel.
Smash them. Yeah, because I paid for that.
Yeah.
So it teaches you to respect money and respect things.
Yes, it does. And it's not just about the money. It's about respecting things and respecting the value of things. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Last thing, focus on financial independence, not image, right? What are your core values? Do you want to retire someday, or do you want to, drive a fancy car and delay retirement by X number of years? You have to make some decisions, make them early, determine what your values are, look as far into the future as you can so you can make the proper financial decisions, not just for today, but for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Well, valuable life lessons, valuable lessons for all of us, no matter where we're at what stage of life. These are all very valuable lessons. And again, this is all from the Millionaire Next Door. And there are so many great lessons in that book. I'm glad you chose that.
Yeah, one. It's very interesting too. So they do back it up with a lot of facts. It's just not all opinion. They ran the statistics on the different occupations and different income levels. And it's an excellent book.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people, and I think I've learned a lot about finance from getting more involved with, especially once my dad inherited his father's farm. And I worked with the farmer that is leasing the land and farms the land. And I see how well he does. And he runs it like you've got to run your finances like a business. Yeah. And of course, farming is a business, but at the same time, I see other farmers who don't, but a lot of the farmers really have their heads on straight as far as how they spend their money, how they manage the debt.
Yep.
They have to, because one year the crops might be horrible.
Yeah.
And the next year they might have a banner year, but they can't just, I made all this money this year and spend it, because you gotta save for a rainy day. And who knows that better than our Minnesota farmers out there?
100%. The other thing about farmers is most farmers, I used to work with a lot of them in an earlier career, because the company that I worked for, farmers are typically cash poor. They don't have a lot of
Right.
cash to
No,
spend.
they don't. My
It's in
grandfather didn't, but he had all this land and
land,
equipment.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of assets, just not typically cash. But yeah, a lot of farmers they do well.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there are lessons to be learned there. Well, great show today. And when you said we're talking about the Millionaire Next Door, I'm like, why are we talking about Jeff Foley again on the show? I don't know. Actually, I said, no, why, Jeff, why is this always about you? I'm teasing you. But Jeff, great show for our listeners out there who want a financial plan in place so they can make the right decisions and be on a path to be more comfortable financially. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, number one, you can give us a call anytime, 651-842-8406, or you can go to our website, paladinfinancial.com, and you can schedule an appointment or time to meet with any one of our fantastic financial advisors.
All right. Well, Jeff, great show today. As always, good to see you again.
You as well, Tony.
All right. Well,
Anthony, if you will.
Yes. Can I call you Jeffrey?
You can.
All right. Well, that does it for today's episode of Paladin Financial Talk with our host, Jeff Quick.